Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Asad Yaqub and I am from Lahore, Pakistan, and I teach IELTS here. But because of social media, I teach IELTS all over the world now. Okay, my IELTS views on my videos, they are increasing and almost around 2 million people have seen me. Okay, so I'm thankful to you all. It's all because of you that you guys are appreciating me, and do send me your messages in the form of comments or WhatsApp message. My WhatsApp number is here so that I know how you feel about my videos, and if you want me to make new videos on different topics related to IELTS, I can do that as well. So anyways, we are going to talk about IELTS reading. This time I am in my IELTS class, so we are recording this video directly from my IELTS class, right? IELTS reading. Now there is a thing that sometimes the candidates, they are complaining that we know the tips, we know the techniques, but still our band score is not increasing and the number of correct answers, that is not increasing. Sometimes the teachers advise the students that please take practice tests. They are taking one practice test, then they are taking another practice test, then they are taking another practice test. So they are taking practice test after practice test, but still their band score or the number of correct answers, that is not increasing. And that is true for academic IELTS as well as for gender training IELTS. The thing is this, you need to identify your problem. When you are doing IELTS reading, first you need to see which type of questions is the most difficult one for you. For example, if I ask you about IELTS reading, yesterday we went through some of the questions. So which type of questions is most difficult for you?
Sentence completion.
Sentence completion?
Mark the diagram.
Mark the diagram. All right, very good. It can be mark the diagram, sentence completion, true, false, not given, yes, no, not given. So you need to identify which type of question is actually the most difficult. When you're taking the test, at the end of the test, when you're checking your answers, you got to see where you are doing more mistakes. The first thing. Clear? First you got to see where you are doing more mistakes. Now the second thing, you got to see what is the nature of the mistakes. Nature of the mistakes means, do you have spelling mistakes? Or do you have the mistakes in grammar? For example, when you are putting that word into the sentence, into that very thing, grammatically is it correct or incorrect, right? Or you got to see you are doing some other mistakes. We call them sometimes the careless mistakes. Means you are not careful about doing it and then you are doing the mistake. So you got to see, is it a mistake about understanding? What sort of mistake? The second thing is, you have to see where are you doing most of the mistakes. In section 1 or section 2 or section 3. Let me tell you, section 1 is the easiest one. Section 2 is more difficult and section 3 is the most difficult one. So you need to identify where you are doing more mistakes. Sometimes I have seen students, they are doing more mistakes in section 1, which is the easiest one. And in section 3, they are getting very good result. In section 2, they are getting very good result. Now here, the problem is not with English. If the problem is with English, then why are they getting good marks or good correct answers in section 2 and section 3? There you need to see the type of questions you are getting in section 1. Do you understand that type of questions or not? As I told you in IELTS reading, we've got like true, false, not given, sentence completion, summary completion, diagram completion. There are around 9 to 10 types of questions which we have in IELTS. So you need to see which one is difficult for you. Got it? You need to, and nobody will help you with that. You need to identify it yourself. Now, once you identify that thing, the next step is you have to see what is my action plan for that. I mean, if for example, Arsalan, if you're having a lot of mistakes in true, false, not given. Now you agree that, okay, in true, false, not given, I'm having a lot of mistakes. I don't understand that clearly. Now you need to actually see, when you're doing the mistakes in true, false, not given, what is your action plan? Action plan means, how are you approaching true, false, not given? What is your style of doing it? Right? After reading the question, what do you do? What do you keep in mind? How do you scan the passage? Then how do you tally the passage with the statement? Right? So you need to check your action plan. And once you check your action plan, now you got to see the problem is at the language end or the problem is at the tips or techniques end. There are two things in IELTS. One is actually your English language and second is the tips and tricks and techniques. If your English language is good, then the tips will help you. The tricks will help you. And if your English language is weak, it's not that good, then tips are useless. If I tell you 100 tips, if your English is not good, means you read English and you don't understand. You read English and it doesn't make any sense, then all the tips are a waste of time. Now I've seen even on the internet, many IELTS candidates, they are looking for magic tips. There should be some magic tips like Aladdin's lamp, right? And even I can make a video on magic tips, I can make, but those tips will not apply on all the tests. I can make that video on a magic tip that this is the word, find this word in the passage, where you find it, that will be the answer, like that. But those tips will not apply on all the tests. Once there was a village. In that village, everybody was illiterate. Right? I'm just telling you a small story. Once there was a village, in that village, everybody was illiterate, but only one person was literate. Right? So once what happened, a letter came to that village from somewhere and nobody knew how to read the letter. And then somebody suggested, we have one person in our village who is literate, so let's take this letter to that person and he will read it to us and he will tell us what this letter is about. So all the people, they took the letter to that literate person of that village and they gave him the letter and said, this is the letter and please read it and tell us what this letter is about. And that literate man answered, I can only read one letter which is in my house, otherwise I don't know how to read other letters. Got the point? Right? So you should be able to actually read other things as well, not just you can say I can read just one letter and that is in my house. You should be a good reader of English, and you need to see what actually supports your IELTS. We don't go for the support. What we do, we take the book and we start the practice test, and then we have the depression and all that. Our study plan matters a lot. For good IELTS band score, your study plan matters a lot. There are two things. One is direct studies for IELTS. One is supportive studies for IELTS. Direct studies and supportive studies. Now for example, this is going to be the direct studies. Now if I want direct studies to help me, they should be the support downstairs. That is my supportive studies. Now for example, the time when you guys are taking listening test, that is direct study. Now what is the supportive studies? You are listening to English, you are watching English channels, you are watching English videos, you are improving your listening skill, right? You listen to the radio in English, you listen to podcasts, we call it podcasts. There are different you listen to podcasts in English. That is going to be the supportive study. So in IELTS, your supportive study plays very important role. Now for example, if you're setting a goal for getting a good bands, for that bands, your direct study will not help you. If you're taking practice tests, you're joining IELTS classes, good, but that is only the direct study. You need to have a supportive study plan. That supportive study plan is important for speaking. That supportive study plan is important for listening and writing as well. So for reading, in order to get a good band score in reading, read English. Beyond these books, not just IELTS books, read English regularly. I told you the example, I'm quoting you again. A student of mine got 9 bands, not because of me, not because of my tips. Right? He got 9 bands because he was a regular reader of English. He used to read English regularly, and that thing paid him in IELTS reading. So if you are a good listener, sometimes some people have a habit of listening to English channels or English radio programs, sometimes on internet as well. If you are a good listener, then you will get a very high band score in listening. Right? And that is because of your supportive study, not the direct study. And if you want to improve your writing thing, again you got to read and write, and then you'll become a good writer. So this supportive study will help you in IELTS. That's what you guys need to do. And if you are weak in one module, means you don't need direct studies. You don't need if you're doing practice only, you are banging your head against the brick wall. Right? You are wasting your time. That's what we say in English, you are beating around the bush. That's the idiom. It means you are doing something which is not going to give you the result. The thing is, you need to focus on the foundation, or I would use the word base camp. For reading, for IELTS reading, what's the base camp? If you want to go to the peak of IELTS reading, what is peak? 9 bands. 9 bands is the peak of IELTS reading. So for that you need to have a strong base camp of reading. What is strong base camp of reading? That you are a regular reader. You read English material, you read English magazines, English books and all that. Then your base camp is strong, you can easily do that. I've seen something like some of my students, they get very good band score in speaking. because their speaking is very good, but they get low band score in writing because the writing is not good. They don't practice that much writing. So your supportive study and your good English language background will help you in IELTS. If you focus on that, definitely you'll be able to achieve your target. So please set realistic targets, and your base camp must be strong for IELTS, and you got to see the foundation. Actually, if the foundation is good, then you can reach the top. Otherwise, you'll be wasting your time and you'll be wasting your money. Asad Yaqub wishes you all the best. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care. Allah Hafiz.